Brian, how are you?
Oh, that's not pretty good, buddy. How about you?
Hear you here? Can you hear me, bud? No, he's not muted. He was. You there, Brian?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just at the liquor store. Give me 1 second.
Fair enough.
I'm on the city council.
The liquor store, but I'm on the wrong side of the bar.
I am.
What city council you on?
The safety. You want it back? Yeah, you enjoy. Yeah, I couldn't find coverage around my store tonight. So
What store do you own?
I don't know, Queensbury Wine and Spirit.
Oh, no kidding. It's a nice backdrop.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, typically I got a guy that works for me from 5 to close. He called in. Even if I was late, I have my laptop I'd have brought in the back, but I'll be like leaving to take care of customers as we're talking. So
We'll be quick. I mean, basically, the whole intent of this is circle the wagons up. We're going to do a general introduction. I want to form subcommittees, so I have a couple ideas. I want to toss that out to everybody. Kind of want to talk about how we're going to function and what the goals are. And make sure everybody feels like their thoughts and ideas are incorporated. Really interesting that Lieutenant McIntosh,
he's a good guy.
department, he sent this out, and I'm gonna make sure everybody gets. Did you see this already?
I talked to Crooks right before New Year's, and he had mentioned that to me. And
That's
then
exactly what we're talking about.
it is.
In relationships, that's how things get solved. They don't get solved by Jim Montanino now wants to do some kangaroo bullshit court. I'm telling you right now, I'll go fucking bonk wild if you
don't-
go down that path.
So Skip Carlson from the Racino.
Yeah.
How come he's not involved in this? Is that because of the whole housing project? He just wants to kind of be quiet, or what?
Yeah, Skip kind of wants to. I understand where their mind is.
Yep.
Todd obviously does. Again, I think Mr. Montanino hasn't thought through what the fuck he's doing.
Well, we got a little bit of money. We want to get an attorney and do something we can.
Do it
Racino
now.
has a lot of money.
Yeah. You should do
and-
it now. You shouldn't wait for the first person to attack and let him pick off one at a time.
Well, his the first liquor license.
Someone has to be harmed, and it's going to be Dennis. So
The first liquor license is going to be Hamilton Ghost. Doesn't really
Yeah.
affect them. I mean, my nightclub business is very, very affected by this. Bourbon Room, not so much. I'm willing to bet if it
So
passed.
now you're the owner of both the Bourbon Room and Soundbar at this point in time.
I am not the legal owner.
Okay.
I do everything. The legal owner, just a buddy of mine. It's
Okay, so it's not Rebecca and
no. Jay, we bought I worked for Jay and Rebecca for a long time.
Yep.
We bought the reserve. Well, my buddy bought the reserve. I run it for him. I do all the marketing and all that stuff for him.
Yeah, I knew you did that type of work.
And then I had the Bourbon Room, same thing. I mean, it's a financial thing. I mean, anybody that, like Druthers has all those owners and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
If something happens to my partner, we get pinched by serving a minor. He sells the bar to me for $5,000. I reapply. We're back open in 6 weeks. So it's kind of like just having an escape plan for certain things. Bourbon Room, same thing.
Keep
Ice
Crooks
House.
on right now. Maybe you don't want to run through those escape plans right away.
It's yeah, it's and then the Ice House, I just do his marketing for him. Sean needs to get out of his own way sometimes.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that. Chief, how are you? Happy New Year.
Good. How's everything?
We're doing well. We're doing well. The information that Lieutenant McIntosh sent over earlier is great. I mean, that's literally everything that I would hope to accomplish.
That's what we've
My
been
life
looking
is
into.
about relationships. That's how problems get solved. You get buy-in. And then, sort of the end game would be codification of this, right? And, but I love that information, so thank you for that. I
Yeah,
love
no
the
problem.
I love the proactive nature. Yeah, Todd, we'll get something over to you, but Lieutenant McIntosh sent
Yeah.
this to me today. Oh, all
So-
right. Looks like we're in sync. So I've got Deputy Connors here with me. We got Brian Miller on the line with the booze in the back. It almost looks like a meeting at the chamber.
He's got a better selection than we do here. There's no doubt about that.
This could do some damage right here. I mean, I don't know. He's got some 99 bananas or something up top. I'm not sure what that is, but that middle shelf could do some damage.
All right, you go first.
I go first. What do I pick? I'm not going for any of that. Stuff that they sell in small plastic bottles is not exactly my.
This is small business at work, okay? So I mean, Todd, if you want, I can sell you some booze if you want. I mean, I'm pretty good at it. By the ounce, by the bottle,
I am. I'm very sarcastic. I'd like everyone to understand that. I bring nothing but good intention to the conversation, and I like to tell jokes to keep it light. So
I genuinely enjoy watching you fight with the mayor.
okay,
Genuinely enjoy it.
appreciate it.
One of these days, I'm going to actually stand up at one of those public hearings, and I'm not going to be told to shut up after 2 minutes. So it's, what's really frustrating is when you go there and he gives you 2 minutes.
Hey, Brian, your time's up.
Oh, Todd, freaking Patriots fan. All right. So then they watch their phone the whole time, and it's like, you're not even listening to what I'm saying.
Yeah, it annoys me too.
And the thing is too, is you do a Google search at either one of them. I mean, it's one investigative reporter from leaking some story to turning the big headlines. It's like, they're just playing with fire. So what have you met John DeJohn?
No, but I think that's someone that some people should start talking about.
Oh, very much so. It's all these closed door meetings.
Lieutenant McIntosh, welcome. We were just all speaking about the information that you distributed. Thank you so much for that. I couldn't, quite honestly, we're just kind of banding about relationships is what it's all about. And, so that model and that type of collaborative approach is the only thing that's going to be successful. And so thank you for bringing that forward right out of the box. I thought that was great.
Have you talked to Sarah today?
Have I talked Alakwa?
Yeah.
No, I have not.
I don't know if she'll be in this meeting.
I don't anticipate that everybody's going to be at this meeting. I figure we're still a few minutes before it starts. What the intent was is get everybody together for a touch point, lay out a couple things, decide on when the next meeting's going to be, and then make sure everybody's there for that. So amongst ourselves, we can kind of get there. I want to have certain structure to this because I think it's important. First off, there's 15 people on this. Breaking up into teams is definitely the right approach to attack multiple topics and be sort of judicious with our time. So, as an engineer, I'm a process and efficiency type of guy. So you'll see I'm a pain in the ass about stuff like that. But it's an important, we gotta get some things stood up and ready for the summer. They need to be put through its paces well in advance of that. And again, what we're doing here is going to be an ad hoc approach, meaning it's not a formalized committee where there are notes taken, where it's an open meeting, subjective meeting. We can handle it however we want. But to me, the outcome is a formalized thing that does become a fixture within our 136 process. Because if there is, I've heard it from everybody in a different way. We've made a bunch of these efforts over the years as anytime one of these issues is kind of flared up. And everyone's got the best intention, but then business gets in the way, the changeover of people, the changeover of business ownership, like what you were just speaking to, Brian. And then all it takes is one new owner to say, I'm not doing that. And then it falls apart. Well, if it's a part of our policy and program from the get-go, you're doing that or you're not getting your license. And if you don't do it, we're taking your license. So everyone does need to understand how, I think we're at a point where we really need to take these issues very seriously.
Mhm.
And we need to, hi, Sarah, how are you? We're just still shooting the shit. So happy New Year to you.
She's at a liquor store too.
Yes, you guys have better backgrounds than some of us. It's not, well, Lieutenant McIntosh is on blackout, so he may have booze behind him. No booze behind him. There's no booze behind the chief either. All right.
I
Well
think his
done.
light switch is just off.
No booze yet. Still on the clock, so.
Ooh,
I can't tell you what's behind the curtain. Just gonna say that.
I can, Lake Avenue.
Todd's on a cruise. No one knows.
All right. Hi, Heidi. Heidi. Gotta,
Hi,
Welcome to the
hi,
update.
how are you?
Oh, whoa. It's the next level.
let me go check on the dogs. Or you're gonna check on them? So. I, for one, had a very long day, so I'm not going to apologize for drinking this beer right now.
How did that New Year's Eve fest go? Good.
Oh yeah, it was excellent. I'd love to hear from the chief and the lieutenant on how it went, but I mean,
I don't think we had any issues down. Not that I mean,
it,
immediately in front of my bars, we had no issues. So I don't know about the rest.
it to me, you know, again, I thought it went really, really well. It went as well as we could have possibly hoped, and it sets us up well for the next one, and the
Mhm.
next one, and the next one, and getting back to being normal again.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone who's hopping on. Dean, how are you? Ryan, how are you? Hi, Barb, how are you?
Evening, folks.
Good evening.
So I don't know if we're gonna have everyone to start, but Aaron's climbing on now. I say let's give it another minute or two, and then what we're gonna do is we'll do a little bit of an introduction. Really, the whole intent of this first meeting is an effort to coordinate. Is anybody else getting this unable to establish secure connection Zoom pop-up? I've never had it before, and it's driving me nuts. So if you see the computer go flying, it's because I got tired of turning it off, and I threw my computer because it's time for a new one. Daryl, how are you? Dean, how are you?
Doing great.
All right.
Good, thanks.
We got someone coming in on an iPhone, and like I said, I don't expect that we're going to get everybody. Hey, Jay, how are you? So,
We got a
yeah,
pretty
so
good crew.
Deanne can't be here. I think the only person we're missing right now is Sam. And he can probably hop on. So, welcome everybody to the first meeting of what we're going to call the Downtown Advisory Committee. We do have a safety committee associated with the city function as it is, so we did not want to use that term to confuse issues. In addition, I don't want to limit the scope of what we may or may not do as it relates to the current formation of this committee or what it may happen down the road. And as such, I thought Downtown Advisory Committee made a lot of sense because it's not one specific issue or area. I think there may be multiple issues that come up over time, and perhaps this is a good vehicle to address those. So that being said, I thought maybe we could just run around the horn here, depending on how everybody's looking at it, and we'll just do a brief introduction. I'm Dylan Moran. I'm the Commissioner of Accounts. I'm a lifelong Saratogian. I'm here because I care about this community. I care about our brand. I have a vested interest, as every citizen in this community does, with the future of our small businesses and our identity. And we need to rectify some situations, both from my opinion, operational standpoint. We also have to readdress things from a communication standpoint and making sure that the right image of Saratoga Springs getting reflected back to the world. Because no matter what, we are one of the safest communities around, period. We have a very good police force that does a tremendous job. And we all want the same end goal, which is a safe community where people come and enjoy themselves and go home safely. And so with that, Deputy Connors, who is with me as well, she's a part of the support group of this team, not formally a part of the committee, but here nonetheless. And then also Barb Brindisi, who you'll see on the screen. Barb is the Assistant City Clerk. She's in the support function as well. And Attorney Izzo, City Attorney Izzo, he's not on, but he realizes the notion of some sort of ethical violation by participating in this is absurd. So he'll be supporting us as well. With that, I will pass the this pop-up is driving me crazy. So if you see me, it's the pop-up. I'd like to pass the baton to the co-chair of this committee, Todd Shimkus, the president of the Saratoga County Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Dylan, and thanks for your leadership to pull this together. I'm here for the same reasons as Dylan. I've been here since 2010. So we've been through some issues. They are the exception to the rule. And what I hope is that, we've always been able to come together, public and private sector, to figure these things out. I want to do that again, but I would love to actually create something that's more sustainable going forward. So we've got the right systems in place to be able to, when issues arise, fix them as fast as possible and move forward and just have a great place. We're going to start a new campaign pretty soon to try to recruit talent. And the whole idea is that when you move to Saratoga, you get to live like you're on vacation. And we think that is a genuine marketing tactic and strategy and statement. And part of that means we've got to be a safe community. So thank you all for participating. And I think what we want to do is just a quick round the room here, the Zoom room, just a quick introduction, your name and what organization you're with. Brian, you want to kick it off?
Brian Miller, Bourbon Room and the Sound Bar in downtown Saratoga. Help out the Ice House too, here and there. But thanks for putting me on the committee.
Thank you. Lieutenant?
Good evening, everyone. Lieutenant Tyler McIntosh. I'm the Midnight Patrol Lieutenant for the Saratoga Springs Police Department. And I've been working quite a bit over the last summer with a lot of the downtown businesses, and also been working with the commissioner or the accounts department as well. So for security guard things and licensing issues, things of that nature. So glad to be a part of this team, and look forward to what the outcome is here.
Thank you. Ryan?
Hi, guys. Ryan McMahon, Saratoga Springs City Center. Like Todd, I've came into the area in 2010, which I just realized we got here the same year. My wife's a lifelong Saratogian, born and raised, though, so I have a little bit of less carpetbagger status that way. And she has laughed. I also have two very loud kids, so I'll keep this muted a lot. City Center is about the biggest piece of real estate downtown now that we have the garage. We have full-time security in there, so I have a pretty good handle on what goes on at night. And we want to help however we can.
Awesome. Heidi?
Hi, everyone. I'm Heidi Owen West. I own 3 retail businesses right on the top of Caroline Street. I was born and raised in Saratoga, and my family has been in business here for 3 decades. As a retailer, I just like people to understand that we are an ecosystem down here, and that what affects one part of us affects us all. So I just wanted to be a strong voice for the retailers, because again, it is about our brand as a whole, and how do we make sure that it's protected.
Absolutely. Chief?
Good evening. I'm Chief Shane Crooks with the Saratoga Springs Police Department. As you know, we've had some incidents downtown which drew some of our attention. I started looking into some different ideas and throwing those around with some of the bar owners, the Commissioner Moran, try to come up with some ways that we can work together as a community to solve some of the problems that we're seeing. So I look forward to this partnership. Lieutenant McIntosh was dragged in by me. He's my eyes and ears and my boots on the ground. He knows everything firsthand, and he's a great asset, and he'll do very well with this program. So,
Yes, Lieutenant was assigned just like the folks from my department were. So thank you.
Okay, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Ilakwa. I am the general manager at Spa City Tap and Barrel. I've also managed 5 other bars on Caroline Street. I've been here about 10 years. I moved in 2013, but I commuted for 2 years working in town. So I'm very excited to be a part of the committee, and just, whatever we can do to make the town better and keep things going is great for us, for everybody. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Aaron.
Good evening, Aaron Dyer. I'm the Assistant Chief with the Fire Department. Just like Chief Crooks has said, my goal is to try to help everybody be successful, operate safe, and we can all have a great life and lifestyle going forward. So look forward to this committee and what we can do to make it better.
Great. Dean, you want to say hi and who you're representing? And I know you've got to run to a school board meeting too. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Good evening, everybody. Dean Colligan, Director of Security at the Adirondack Trust Company, and was requested to be on the committee as a representative of the Downtown Special Assessment District, which is also a board that I'm currently on as well. So look forward to working with everybody. Thanks, Todd and Dylan.
Thanks. Heather?
Thank you, Dean.
Hi, I'm Heather Crocker, Deputy Commissioner of Finance. Like Stacy and Barbara, I'm here in a support role. My commissioner, Anita Songby, is out of town this week, but I can speak for her in saying that, we're looking at getting all the folks together in a room to work out solutions to some of these challenges. And we feel like the best way to move forward is to bring the community and city leadership together. So I'm happy to be here, happy to hear everybody's ideas.
Awesome. Thank you. Jay.
Who'd you call on, Todd? You forgot Big J.
Yeah, that's what Jay.
Oh, okay. We got
think he's
dogs
trying.
barking.
How about Daryl? Let's go with Daryl.
Yeah, we'll go with Daryl.
I'll pinch it. Yeah, Daryl Legiri with Discover Saratoga, and I've been here since 2005 and been in the hospitality my entire career. And ever since I've been here, we're always promoting Saratoga Springs as a safe place to visit. That's one of our main value propositions, and I want to make sure that I can do everything I can to help our city, help with this committee to continue to make that possible, because it's a great place not only for our visitors but for our locals as well. Thanks for allowing me to be on the committee.
No,
all right, you guys there?
I'll pinch it.
Hear me?
Yep. Hey, Jay, go ahead.
All right. Hey guys, sorry about this. This is actually my first time on Zoom, believe it or not. So I couldn't figure out how to unmute it. But anyways, I'm Jay Fitch with the Saratoga City Tavern and King's Tavern. And kind of like Brian and Sarah, we're at the same boat. We just want to see people have a safe, good time and get home safe, especially our employees and good customers. Yeah, look forward to working with you guys and turning the street back around where it should be.
Great.
Thank you, everyone. And we've got a couple of big mouth dogs over here, so I apologize. I am an engineer, so there is a formal piece of me, the way that I kind of do things. I want to bring us through a process, and I'm not going to bore you with the details, but essentially a rote process that helps you really get to the root of what are we trying to do, how do we make changes that are meaningful, And then how do we make sure that they stay? And part of that comes with identifying what the problem is. And, you know, I think the issues that we're going to be talking about transcend what we can possibly address. We know our society has become more violent over the last decade, in particular over the last 3 or 4 years. We know, I think I feel it in myself and everyone around me, we're not our best selves at this moment. We've been through a tremendous amount of stress, and that we all in our own individual lives feel that and have to deal with that, whether it be in the context of our personal lives or our business transactions that we go through. And, you know, I think it's with that sort of background understanding that we look at what's going on recently, and you can't help but notice things have changed. You know, I happen to have, you know, I'm a musician. Some folks know that I've been playing in this town for 25 years. I've played at some of the folks' establishments that are here. Jay and I have known each other for a very long time. And 10 years ago, he and I were talking about how things had changed. And that was about the time that we started to decide to not play out anymore, just because we played for a long time and it wasn't quite feeling the same. Well, I think that there's been a definite change beyond, hey, greasers, get off my lawn, and that type of mindset. I do think that there is more of a binge drinking culture. I do think there is more of an excess culture, and I do think there is less kindness and less willingness to let bygones or to let a small affront pass without a confrontation. Coupled with that is now my understanding from talking with a lot of people that I know, that there's a younger generation that just walks around armed all the time. And whether that be with a knife or whether that be with a sidearm, that is where I really get concerned. And so when I look at a problem statement, and we're not going to establish a problem statement or tonight, but what I would love you all to think about in looking at what this group is about, we need to be able to define ourselves to the community such that the things that we bring forward can be accepted and bought into by the community. And so, you know, I think there are reputational issues that need to be addressed. I think there are factual issues that need to be checked and addressed. And very clearly, we can improve communication within the framework of downtown, whatever type of business you operate, between law enforcement, our retail and food and beverage peers, and the government and law enforcement. And so those are the things that I think that we can do locally. We can't make people less angry. That's not possible. So how do we deal with what we have and who come and visit our community? Because I think most people come here with an attitude of let's have fun and let's have a good time, which is a great place to start from. So, you know, what happens on those fringes that have led to some of the issues that, you know, I mean, November 20th, the bubble got burst. Saratoga Springs will never be the same again. And, you know, I think it's, unfortunately, it's time that we really need to take some actionable steps to change things. So that's my thought. I just wanted to introduce the idea of a mission statement. I'm not asking for a response unless anybody feels like talking. You're certainly welcome. The whole point of this group being together is that is a free exchange of ideas. We will never not treat each other with mutual respect. We may not agree on a particular approach, but I would just hope that we all recognize each other's individual and personal experience, and that we foment and foment an environment that's comfortable for everybody to speak. So with that, I just turn it out to the floor, see if anybody's got anything to say, you know, with regards to that. And if not, we can move along too. So I'll offer that as well.
One of the things I've noticed, and actually yesterday I was down at Dangerous Pizza and I was talking with Rory, who's been on the street for 20 plus years. And if you look at just Caroline Street, the bar owners, everyone's been there 10 to 15 years. Other than, Gaffney's and the Misfit. Misfit just got purchased. Gaffney's obviously took over for John Baker, I think like 6 or 7 years back. So, they talk about this is the first time a Saratoga policeman's discharged his firearm in 26 years. Most of the bar owners on the street were there 26 years ago. Clancy's, Trotters, DA's, Tin and Lint. The ownership hasn't really changed that much. These bad things are happening and Caroline Street's taking the fall for it. But when they understand is there's so much experience on that street of handling issues. I'm sure if I had a closed door meeting with Jay Fitch about the craziest stuff he's ever seen in his bar, he's got some stories to tell. Same thing with Sarah, same thing with, Jimmy over at Tin and Lint. There's a lot of experience. If all these bar owners go away, you're dealing with a ton of new, fresh people who might not listen or may not want to join these committees or may not care nearly as much as the people do in the Zoom chat. I think that's got a lot of power. I think that, the fact that, the generations are changing and we're having more and more issues. I just wish like people just knew that more, knew like, hey, we've been through a lot here. We're doing a lot of stuff. We're trying to figure out what's going on. But at the same time, no bar is handing out pistols. No bar is, as Montenegro said, holding down people and dumping drinks down their throat. No one's doing that. We're held accountable for everything, and there's a lot to be said about that.
Thank you. That's a great point. Jay, you're not allowed to talk about things that I did. So, any other thoughts? Great. So if there aren't, what I would love is when we get to the next meeting, we're going to have a conversation around a mission statement. And I would love people to bring just some thoughts. Basically, what does it mean to you by being on this committee? What do you hope to achieve? We're going to go through a little bit of an exercise and we're going to arrive at a mission statement that will tie into the things that we're going to do. The next issue is, so I mentioned it briefly, we're an ad hoc committee. So we're not subject to certain requirements as would be for a standing committee. Ultimately, I do want this to turn into a standing committee that is codified and ultimately functions as part of the 136 chapter licensure. And it's going to be the type of thing that is, as Lieutenant McIntosh passed out, a relationship-based or relationally, a mutually supportive structure. And so again, to the point of Ms. West, we all have the ability to impact each other as citizens, as business owners, regardless of food and beverage or retail or a hotelier or a bed and breakfast owner. We all feed into each other. It is an ecosystem, and it's incredibly important that we approach any problem solving with that holistic approach. And so I really appreciate her comments on that. So within the subcommittee format, there's a couple basic premises that I operate under, and that is one, obviously you need to know a problem you're going to solve, and we talked about that. If you cannot measure that problem or have a measurement system in place to measure or help define what that problem is, you can't help to improve it, because you can throw anything you want at it, but if you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're getting to. And so one of the subcommittees that I am going to focus on is data. I have, again, as I said, a lot of experience, and also as being part of the government, I'm going to work with, he's here on this for the first time, but I'm going to work with Chief Crooks because I'm nominating him to be a part of the data subcommittee with me. Basically, we're going to take a look at what sort of information the police department regularly collects. Is it granular enough for us to draw conclusions from that? Are there ways that we can massage that data to help us understand potential just relationship things. You never know what you're going to find from the data until you get your hands around it. But we have to have an ability to it can't be, well, nobody shot a gun on Broadway to, this month, so we're doing fine. That's not the metric we're looking for. There are deeper metrics that, whether the confrontational issues, altercations that lead to bigger things. I think there's a lot of information in there that we can gain. So that's going to be one of the subcommittees. If there are people who are interested in that type of thing, you're certainly welcome to be part of that conversation. But I will definitely be working with the chief on that. And that will be a big focal point of what I put my effort and attention to. We know we want to do a safety audit. And so with that comes the fact that we've got a governmental body involved in this and private business, and then also a non-for-profit structure, be it the Chamber or Discover Saratoga. How do we accomplish that? Are we going to do a bidding process? Who's paying for that? How does that work? I would love to have that safety audit be it's a transactional, it's an actionable subcommittee, but we need a couple people to focus on that piece of it. Given Mr. Colligan's background, I'm going to assign him to that subcommittee, and he just signed off, so that's perfect timing on his part. But along with that, Ryan, would you be willing to work with him on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I deal with a lot of security companies around here anyways, so. Yeah.
Exactly. So I thought that was a good tie-in for the two of you guys to be on.
Commissioner, I think, Sarah, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you mentioned in one of the meetings with the bar owners that you've worked with a firm that's done some inspections or safety audits. Am I right on that?
So we haven't had it done directly, but one of the places that our guys go through for security training to get their New York State security license, they did offer that to me at one point. If we ever wanted it, they'd come in and do like a security audit and go through and see what our guards were doing, if they were, performing correctly, ways they can improve, things like that. We generally haven't had too many issues. I'm kind of a micromanager, so my guys either do what I tell them to or they don't work there anymore. So I haven't brought those guys down, but they are available. They're right out of Latham, so they are local. And, they have that certification in the background of being, they teach all the classes for New York State. So I definitely could reach out for that.
Yeah, and I would, an idea has been floated, might as well put it out there just now. Again, this is a loose conversation. I'd like people to feel free to talk. But, within the context of that safety audit, I've heard that this notion of, and it may have come from, the business owners themselves, of how, sort of an outcome of this being, we're going to hire an organization that provides us a single point of contact that works with every establishment on a given evening and is the point of contact, for instance, to Lieutenant McIntosh. But on top of that, they run exactly what Sarah just talked about, which is an auditing service where they'll send people in on different evenings to push your buttons. That is a piece of continuous improvement, is to make sure the changes that you've made are actually working. And so, when you look at some of the biggest costs that you have with running your business, insurance is very clearly one of them. To have a program like this, I think would almost pay for itself. So, especially if it's a group decision to do something like that. So it's a thought I heard. I thought it came from you guys as business owners. I think there's a lot of merit, particularly that audit side of it. So whomever that came from, thank you. The next line, again, I only put couple bullet points here. I'm not trying to be dictatorial about this in any way, shape, or form. The last one I have is the very clear and obvious thing, and it probably should be broken apart, but we know fundamentally what some of the techniques that will work, we'll call them business to business. The work that Tom Clancy did and John Baker with aligning the phones, and we're throwing this person out and everybody's on that speed call. I think that has to get reinstituted. But there's a nuance here that I'm also aware of, that there is an issue and a concern on some people's parts that depending on how they go about communicating a problem that they've had within their business could work against them as it relates to their licensure. And I would really like to make sure that within the context of us communally doing something together to address this issue, we find a way to make sure that these businesses have a way to report problems that do not result in punitive actions as it relates to the SLA and their licensure. I'm not comfortable with some of the conversations that have been held around the SLA. I'm not comfortable with the way that people's licensure and their way to live is being threatened. And we need to find a way to not have those types of extreme conversations with business owners, because that takes someone who could be an ally and immediately puts them on the defensive. And that's not what we're trying to accomplish here. So not asking for a response to that, but that is an issue I've heard that I would love to find a way that there's a benign way to report a problem and get it addressed that does not hurt people. And so, so within that, the second notion is training. And this, I believe, comes from the plan that was brought forward by Todd and the rest of the business owners. And I would love actually to turn it over to Todd, maybe Chief Crooks, to talk a little bit about training and maybe have that be another subcommittee. So you've got sort of operational communications that we can do. You got training we can do. And then I would have a second communications that I would create as another subcommittee. And that's externally communicating what it is we're doing, how we're doing, and continue to report out on how we're doing, so that we start to change that narrative. Because when I was doing the run up to the New Year's Eve Fest, every single reporter asked me what we're doing for extra security measures because of Caroline Street. And I said, we're not doing anything. We're one of the safest communities around. We don't have to do anything. We're going to places that regularly hold events for thousands to hundreds of people, you know, but it's out there, and they want to feed into that. And we've got to repress that to the best that we can with truth and not propaganda, but truth in action. So with that, can I turn that over to you, Todd, and you pick up kind of the conversation with Chief Crooks about what your thoughts were around the training, and then maybe pick up external communication?
Yeah,
and then with those three, so it would be, we'll call it operational communications, we'll call it training, and law enforcement interaction, and then we'll call it external communications. Because again, both the business community, the city itself, and the police department can all benefit from more positive external communication. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's a lot for one group to do, so we might need to break it into a couple little pieces there. Pieces that
I got it as three.
Yeah, I mean, the pieces that I've got from folks, Jay in particular, has often mentioned a bunch of ideas in terms of, Dylan, your point about the operational communications. You know, everything from lights to emergency notifications to cell phones, texting, all that kind of stuff. And
sounds like Jay Fitch just signed up to be the chairman of that subcommittee.
I do think we need somebody from the bar owners downtown and somebody from the police department.
Lieutenant McIntosh.
And then on the training side, I think that's one of the things that I've definitely seen. The more, and again, after when we came out of whoever, the chief or somebody on his team has always been kind enough,
as assigned by the chief.
Yeah, has always been kind enough to organize an annual get together with the bar owners, their security teams. I just think we need to be more strategic about that. We need to set that up, that we're going to do that once in the spring, once in the fall. The one is in the spring is to talk about how we work together heading into the summer. The one in the fall is, what did we learn? What could we do better? What did we do well, right? So that we're constantly improving there. But I don't know who it is from the police department, but certainly I'm willing to help. We've done that in the past. Daryl has helped with that in the past. So if you break those two things out, the operational communications and the training, I think there's a little split as to how we get this done.
Yeah, we can definitely roll, excuse me, we can definitely roll into doing something for the training. I like the idea of doing the spring and then the fall before our busy season. You know, this is what we expect. We get everybody together, kind of like what we did with the SLA before, cover what the responsibilities everybody has. A lot of people sometimes don't understand that when you have a bar and you have a liquor license, that expands your responsibilities over a regular business. So we can just make sure that's all clear. Communication is going to be key. And that's one of the things I've learned over the years. If everybody knows what to expect and how we work together, when the incident happens or we run into a speed bump along the way, it's a lot smoother because we've already talked about it. We can work in doing that. And in the fall, we can hot wash how the summer went, cover the issues that we see. We're going to have to be adjusting as we go along to any issues that come up to make sure that we're working together, whether the communication's working well, if there's an issue with an employee on one side or an employee on the other side. A lot of times I find it just boils down to communication, but that's definitely something that we can put together in, and we have the contacts with the SLA. We can bring them up, do the full presentations like what we've done before. We can either do it in the music hall or pick a different location to utilize to do that. The biggest thing is having the buy-in. I mean, I've said this for years, we're only successful on the law enforcement side if we have the support of the community. So we need everybody that's involved to be there and to have the buy-in to attend these meetings and to put the work in. I mean, you look around, we have a lot of people right here on this meeting just to start, but we need to make sure that everybody is there, and we need to figure out a way to make it so people want to be there. You know, and then we have the commitment from the community.
Yeah, I would be, I'll be honest in the discussion with this and talking to folks, because we have done it in the past, that a lecture from the SLA is fine, but I think it's more of the operational, you know, okay, here's how we're going to handle this type of situation. Here's, you know, those sort of protocols and how do we communicate as issues arise during the day or night, right? That's, and then getting the security teams to meet the officers that are actually going to be out on the street so that they build a relationship that's more personal, not just professional, to be able to work together. I think that might differentiate from what we've done in the past, but does that make any sense?
Absolutely. Having someone that at each establishment is a key contact person for the officers that they come over, getting the FaceTime. We all know if you know the other person that you're dealing with and you've dealt with them before, you're going to get a better response. If you pick up the phone to call another company or for us another law enforcement agency and ask for help, you're going to get a standard response. If you call John on the other end, that you know, you're going to get more out of it. It's just the way that things seem to go smoother that way. So we can roll in, we can do something like that to get together. I'd like to get everybody together and have a meeting. And Lieutenant McIntosh and I talked about doing this with our team on the night shift, rolling it in with, you know, the security guards at all the different establishments, kind of breaking it up and doing it different times. And also then we can roll and explain, okay, if this is what you have, and we can do scenario-based training, where if you have an unruly patron trying to get in, this is what we would expect you to do. This is what the officers are going to do when they come. You know, these are the things that they're going to look for. That's one of the things that we realize, that it's an education base. Not everybody understands why we ask the questions that we do or why we do the things that we do. Sometimes people think that we can make an arrest when we can't. And sometimes people don't understand why we're asking. And when people understand what we're looking for and they know what's going to happen, it goes smoother. So we can definitely roll into some reality-based training scenarios, like what we do for our regular in-service training.
Sarah, Jay, you want to, what do you think about that?
All right, you guys there? Can you hear me? All right, there we go. Yeah, so it's tough because whenever you hear whenever you have a liquor license and you hear the word or letters SLA, you get like worried. Because in the last 18 years of us being on the street, the SLA doesn't reach out to us in a positive way. It's always something that's gone wrong, you know. So I agree. I think to start the process of us all being on the same page, working forward to fixing it is definitely a way to look about it. I would definitely host a meet and greet with the security guards and the officers at the tavern whenever you want to do that. Besides that, yeah, we're on board.
Why don't we just have the security guard show up to King's Tavern where the police force already is?
They're never there. That's the fire department.
Oh, you sure? I don't know. I don't know about that.
Kidding. I was told to say that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, talking to our guys and them talking to other security on the street, it's tough to get officers' attention sometimes. So we were all brainstorming ideas how to put some lights in the buildings, like emergency lights that the bouncers can just turn on. And once they're on, the officers know, hey, they're needed over there.
That's a great idea. I mean, the cabs have the yellow hazard lights on them. Schools have the blue lights on the outside. You can throw lights switch on it when you're starting to have a problem, and a way to notify the officers.
Yeah. And then it's like Dylan said earlier, yeah, it is generational. This past weekend, we closed up usual time, like 1:30, 1:45, or locked our front door. And we had a couple that were mad about that. And one of the girls pulled a knife out on the bouncer or the front door people that she wasn't even in our building yet. So I think, how do you fix that? That knife is still on the street. The guns are still on the street. You know, what can we do to disarm people? Can we disarm people? You know? I don't know.
When they were just so everyone knows, when there was heavy, you know, again, the lines were long going into Gaffney's and they were actively wanding. They were collecting hundreds of knives a weekend. Hundreds. I was getting the pictures from Sarah Berger. I couldn't believe it. And that's why I started asking around. And basically I was told, everybody that's younger, that's just what they do. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't need to. It seems as if it's a condition that we have to consider. And for me, the presence of the weapons is the most concerning thing. It puts everything up another level of harm. And with that obviously becomes, you know,
I can tell you that
people being hurt. I mean, we can't accept that.
We've had some societal changes. Any law enforcement officer will tell you that, you know, what we used to be able to do with 2 officers on Caroline Street now takes 4. We don't get the same cooperation from the community as what we used to. It's a pendulum. It goes back and forth. It'll come back around. It just takes time. But unfortunately, we have to deal with what's happening right now until then. I don't think we're going to be able to, as a society, deter people from carrying knives, etc. But if they're coming out to an establishment, if you make it less convenient for them, that may encourage them to leave them at home rather than bringing them with them, send them back to the car, you know, just different ideas like that, something along those lines. I don't know.
I think what you just said there, though, Chief, is a really good point. No matter what we may want or do, they can always walk back to the car.
Absolutely.
And have something there and then what? And so much in the same way that we've talked about, and again, your officers responded to a situation, that ought to be a trigger. Somebody got an altercation, leaves, says, I'm coming back. That's got to be like notified. So it goes to that SOP, it goes to that communication notice. We can use technology to our benefit. And again, sorry to interrupt, but it struck a chord with me.
It's going to be something that takes a process that we have to deal with. We are not going to be able to stop all bad things from happening. It's just, we won't be able to do that, but hopefully we can have a positive impact and reduce that. You know, we have a really safe community overall. And one of the incidents that you're talking about, we had a very similar incident with a man with a gun. I think it was last summer. I don't know if it was this summer or the summer before. I would have to check back and see, but you know, these are things that we can work on doing. And I understand that SLA is very concerning for the establishments downtown. I totally get that. My philosophy is that if, you know, we're working with an establishment and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, then we don't normally have to do an SLA referral if it's a minor thing and it's adjusted. The SLA referrals come out when the problems aren't being solved. That's when like, if I ask you to do something from a law enforcement standpoint and it doesn't fix the issue, it's like writing a traffic ticket. You know, we don't always write a traffic ticket if we think the stop is going to change itself, is going to change the person's behavior. If we don't think the stop changes the person's behavior, then we take it up a notch and issue a traffic ticket. We want to change that behavior. is what our goal is. We're looking to have all the bars work with us. Now, there may be an SLA referral, and I can tell you that we've done them where I've also spoken
It's
positively.
like they need sci-fi up in Corinth.
What's that?
Was that
My Wi-Fi?
Yeah, we're someone, maybe it's mine. I thought it might have been yours, or is everybody's?
I think it's just you, Dylan.
Oh, it's just me?
It only everyone's face was moving and yours just froze. So I think
Everyone else's face froze. All right, it's mine. Where's Jason Golub in that sci-fi?
Well, my point being is if we have a good working relationship, I am sure that those will go down because the point is solving the problem. The point, we're not looking to be punitive to a business. We're looking to make sure that the business is functioning the way it's supposed to function or as closely as it can. Things are going to happen. We understand that. Repeated issues and issues that aren't addressed is where we come into our problems. And those are the things that we have to look at. And for me, I look at it's an officer safety standpoint. If my officers are running into problems where they're getting literally, I've watched camera video where they're getting thrown through the air on the streets, and that's something that concerns me. We expect to break up bar fights. That happens. We don't want to be responding to, incidents like on November 20th. That's not something that we want anywhere near the city of Saratoga. And as I said, I think overall we do a really great job. Staffing has been a huge issue for us. We are down. We are still down. It's going to take me a couple of years to get our staffing back up at this rate. We're trying to hire, but then we lose people. It's a nationwide issue right now. And then when we bring in new faces, it's new faces on the street, and they don't have that same rapport with everybody that works on the street, and it's trying to build that rapport again. So it's something that we have to look at, I think, has a continuing, constant situation, not something that we just do once and say, okay, because that's what we've done in the past. We had the meet and greet and we had the officers and things worked out well for a few months. And then we lost that communication because employees change on both sides. So.
And I think unless somebody else has comments, I think we've got some good feedback on the subcommittees. Maybe you and I can.
Yeah, actually, what I'd like to do,
throw
Todd,
some names out there and
we were,
then let people volunteer.
I guess we can let people volunteer. I was about to sign everybody. To me, just in listening to people talk, on the safety audit, we had Dean and Ryan already. Sarah obviously has some connection to that. So I just and again, these are just starting places. We're looking to get certain actions done quickly. So I had those three associated with that. Operational communications, I think Brian, Jay, and Lieutenant McIntosh, Brian Miller, makes sense. Are you cool with that, Brian?
Yeah, I'm very cool with that.
All right, cool. And then I look at training and law enforcement interaction. I have Chief Crooks, I have Sam, Bottini, who's not here, and I have Todd. So you kind of got a nexus of folks there. As I mentioned, on data will be myself and Chief Crooks. I'm also putting Commissioner Sangvi, again, a very data-focused person. And I think that there may be some issues just with the propriety of data that might be able to be released and not. It probably makes sense for the three of us to be, or the two of us to be in conversation with the chief on that one. And then
Dylan, the only thing I would suggest is I know Commissioner Sangvi was really interested in and supportive of the audit. And
yeah, she can be a part of that too, because we're going to make her pay for a part of it. So.
I was going to say, if we're going to need money, we want Dean on that committee because the Special Assessment District has money, and I think we'll put
me in on there as well too. Absolutely, great point. Oh, yep. No, great point. So that she will be part of that as well, and then external communications. I've got Daryl and Heidi and Todd. Between them, and again, we're forgetting Deanne. Probably put Deanne on that as well, at least as initial place, because again, I think part of one of the core missions of whether it be the Downtown Business Association, Discover Saratoga, or Chamber of Commerce, is our brand. Is the preservation and magnification of our brand. And it would only make sense that we have those folks involved in it. Does that make sense? Are you cool with that, Heidi?
That works.
Yeah, that's definitely my wheelhouse as opposed to the other things, marketing and yeah.
Yep, and again, like I said, this is just the starting place. So the last topic that we have is just to schedule the first in-person meeting. I would float the 23rd, 24th, 25th. No, it's not. 23rd, 24th, 25th as the potential first 3 dates. Is there a hard no for anybody on any of those dates? Or can we?
What time of day are we looking?
My
time are we
thought
looking at?
is after work, 5:30 or 6 start, just like this was. First meeting, you should probably plan on a couple hours. I can do it in the music hall, probably.
Might be able to host it too.
Or second floor conference room, probably can accommodate this group as well in City Hall.
Mondays
And
are
then we go
generally
from there.
bad.
And again, I think we need to meet with a fairly regular frequency, maybe bi-weekly for the first couple of months, just so we've got to get some traction. We've got to get some movement before we get to the busy season. And again, obviously, we're all busy folks, so I want to be, I want to be well organized and conscious of everybody's time commitment. Any thoughts about the time frame or those dates?
I think,
And I'm
Aaron,
pushing
you
it
said
towards the
something
beginning
about
of the week for, I'm pushing it towards the front of the week for businesses concerned as well, because I know some folks are closed those days.
Aaron, did you have you have an issue with one of those dates?
Mondays are generally a bad day for me, but you don't need to orchestrate it around me, so.
Yes, we do.
Mondays are bad for me too.
Mondays
well,
are bad for me.
Mondays don't work for me that well either.
Then let's make it.
How's Wednesday? How's Wednesday?
Great.
You tell me Tuesday's fine for me, Wednesday's fine as well.
I like Tuesdays.
Wednesday works for me.
All right.
I think Wednesday is substantially better for me.
We're
Yeah,
gonna
Wednesday.
we're going to send out an email. Barb will send out an email to everybody to check Tuesday or Wednesday. Heather, could you check with me to see what will work with her in terms of best time?
I can tell you if it's a Tuesday meeting, later's better for her.
Because she teaches that day, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So anything I would say would be after work hours, like I said, 5:36 to start.
Okay, that should work then.
Barb,
I do
Barb
think
asked the
Dean's gonna have
question.
trouble.
The intent would be for subcommittees will meet between meetings. The subcommittees won't meet between this meeting and our first meeting, other than maybe reaching out to each other to touch base, and we'll make sure everybody's got everybody's email communication. You can start touching base with each other on that. Certainly as it relates to the safety audit, if we've got vendors that we know of that we want to put forward to suggest, let's do that.
Is everyone okay with sharing their email address with each other? May I share your email address with the group?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for asking me, Barb. All right.
Dylan, just one other item on the agenda before we go. Since we got such a cool group here, a couple folks mentioned New Year's Fest. I just think at each one of these meetings, because sometimes you all have experiences that we should address right away. Did anything come up among the police or business community that weekend, or that we ought to chat about right away?
I think New Year's as a whole, festival throughout till 4 a.m. was a complete success for the establishments. The police were out in force and they were known. Town looked very, very good. That's kind of a feather in our cap because that is the first or the second busiest day of the year for downtown businesses. Heard a lot of good feedback about having the fireworks early. Families kind of came and gone before the amateurs came downtown, that type of stuff. But no, definitely, round of applause for the police for New Year's Eve. The other businesses in town for running reputable places and keeping everybody in line.
That's great to hear.
It's kind of scary because, you know, we had all those issues and it's like, oh, you know, we're all in the news for guns
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And now it's going to come up on the busiest day of the year. Like, I really hope nothing happens because you don't know what the next step is. So,
Yep.
but
Crossed our mind too.
I'm just glad we didn't blow stuff up with the fireworks. So Aaron probably would have lost his job if that happened.
Awful hard to blow up the parking structure. That's pretty.
No, but they're shooting at the fire. They're shooting at the city hall, and that place is a killer.
I don't know, Chief or Lieutenant, any feedback on New Year's Fest?
Yeah, from my perspective, kind of echoing what Brian just said, we were actually working pretty consistently throughout the night. So I was on ground from about 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. For the New Year's event. Very large crowds, however, really no major issues. We did have a good amount of officers out, roughly, 19 total, counting myself. So we proactively, intervene with what we foresee to be, fights that are about to break out and things like that. But overall, the bar owners downtown were very receptive. I saw a lot of the managers out and being proactive with issues. So I think the collaboration is getting there, and I think this group will definitely bring everyone together and continue that effort. But overall, it was actually a very, very successful evening. And while I'm talking real quick, I know I sent you and the commissioner the Safe Night Out program. We had a demo with Demetrius there. It may be something, if you guys want, I can reach out to him and possibly have him do a presentation at our next meeting. It may be something that could help us.
Yeah, Lieutenant, I think that'd be great. Basically, I was going to ask for Barb to circulate that to everybody. Yep, the Safe Night Out. Did you already send it out, Barb, to everyone?
I had not without your orders, but I will tomorrow morning.
That's not how we have.
You know how I am, Commissioner.
Yeah, no, but yeah, absolutely. Please circulate that to everybody. And the other thing that I was going to facilitate at, whether it's our next meeting or the meeting afterwards, is I was going to have Marilyn Rivers, our Director of Risk and Safety, come and present to us fundamentally what is the Chapter 136 program. She had a lot to do with the creation of it. As it exists today, I think it would be a very good grounding for everybody to really have a clear understanding of what exactly that is. What are the powers enumerated? Again, when Commissioner Montanino wants to bring forward a kangaroo court to take your licenses, understand I already have that ability. I don't take that lightly, and I think to double down on that and create some sort of, and I'm going to call it bullshit, only serves to divide. We have the things in place that we need to reconcile what I call legal, lawful, and safe businesses, right? Are we doing things legally? We are, because we're registered, but are we doing things lawfully? Are we tipping up to walking up and past the edge of fire code and things like that create situations that could potentially cause a problem that ultimately lead to that third thing, which is safety. I treat everybody the same exact way. I want to have successful businesses. We know that there's fungible elements to everything around our lives, but what we want to be is consistent with everybody. And I hope that you see that element of fairness in us. I hope that you see that element in fairness in the chief's department and how we interact, and certainly the positive intent that I know that we're bringing to this engagement here with everyone. So, I appreciate that, and I appreciate everyone's comments. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, so we got 5 minutes. Anybody want to yell and scream, say anything?
I want to mention one thing.
For sure.
Yeah, I want to recognize Lieutenant McIntosh. We're talking about first night. He is the man out there on the ground that's running everything, keep an eye on it. We have about a third of our working shift just covering that one night. It's a logistical issue for us because we have to start early in the morning with covering with extra staffing right through till 5 o'clock. It ends up being a long day. There's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to prepare. We prepare for a lot of things that hopefully never happen, and we like it that way. But without him, we wouldn't have such a well-run, safe evening that we did. And the officers on the street, they jump right in. They try to catch everything before it escalates, and they try to stop the pushing match before it turns into the fisticuffs, before it turns into, something worse. So I just want to make sure I recognize Lieutenant McIntosh for that and all his hard work.
And that's a big problem here, right? It's the exceptions to the rule that get the media's attention, as opposed to the everyday things our folks are always doing to try to keep people safe. And that nobody's going to write a story about New Year's Fest being safe.
No.
Unfortunately, and who's responsible and who did the job.
We can. That's the whole point. That's
We've got to
what we
figure out
can
how to
and should be
communicate
doing.
that. Totally.
One report just wanted to focus on the water main break for New Year's Fest. So yeah, they want to find all the fun things that are wrong.
We talked about in the bar committee almost doing like a PR campaign and like flipping the narrative. And one thing we talked about was we only talk about the bad. No one talks about the good. I know we're not going to be able to stop our public safety commissioner from talking to the world, but there's things we can do on our end. We had a very successful New Year's Eve. Saratoga SantaCon raised $20,000 for the Franklin Community Center, which is actually one of the larger donations they received this year. And that was participation of all the bars. And that's actually a younger pub crawl where you're dealing with these target problem customers, and we had no issues. There's a lot of good stuff we do that no one knows about or cares about, but the moment someone does something wrong, it's pointing fingers and blaming, and they don't understand like how much we provide.
It's tough to pack heat when you're dressed as Buddy the Elf, though.
It is. It's actually very, very embarrassing to take a mugshot dressed as Santa as well.
Right?
So,
I know. It looks horrible. Talk about bad for the brand.
I know. But but like talking about like, we don't want to put out a message of like a safer Saratoga. We already agree that Saratoga is safe.
Absolutely.
Let's highlight the things we're good at. I told my wife the other day, she wanted to, my son wants to see Jurassic Park in the movie theater. And I'm like, that will scare the hell out of him. If you won't want your son to be afraid of dinosaurs, don't show him dinosaurs large. If you don't want people to think that Saratoga is unsafe, don't release the body cam footage. That type of stuff there. Like, we need to flip the narrative as business owners and high-ranking officials in the city and let people know that there is so much good that goes on in this city that you don't even know about. The time and the effort and the work and the detail. There's a lot of work that goes into this stuff.
No, you're absolutely right. We don't do enough to celebrate the good. There's absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah, I'm going to mention on a couple of things on that too. Like when you look at the stats for the city of Saratoga Springs, we're no longer a small city in the country that we used to be. We are growing. We attract a lot of people in. They drive 2 hours to come out on a Friday night. We are getting to be a pretty big city, even though our population hasn't skyrocketed. We have a lot of people that come here and visit it. We're a tourist destination. But when you compare our crime stats compared to Albany, Schenectady, and Troy that are 20, 30 minutes away, we're probably down on average 50% compared to where they would be if they were at the same population. We do a really good job at trying to keep the crime that they're having from out of the city. And it's our officers being proactive in doing that in the community. If the community doesn't feel comfortable picking up the phone and calling us, we don't get the reports. But having the relationships goes a long way, and having good people out there doing the job makes a big difference. So I think we have a really safe city overall.
We do, and we do absolutely market ourselves as being the Northeast Las Vegas. There's no other way to look at it. We ask people to come here to party, and then we turn around and complain about the associated issues with partying. So, you build it, they will come, and now we've obviously got to adjust the guardrails just a little bit because we got a different sort of folk coming. I think that's what it comes down to.
I'm that guy. We're at 1 hour. So
okay, perfect.
Well, we
Everybody
were
good?
going off on a tangent anyway, so you don't want to let politicians talk extra time. I would love to thank, or like to thank everybody for participating this evening. I really appreciate all of your time, your concern, your care, your love for this great city of ours. So we're going to circulate. We'll figure out whether it's going to be the 24th or the 25th. We'll fix a location. I mean, Todd, how many in your conference room? How many people can sit there?
That's not a good idea right now. So
Okay.
maybe the city center or
I have
there-
space.
Well, no, I could look into the music hall, or we could do the city center.
I mean,
Yeah,
I have plenty of room.
We'll find a space. We'll figure out that out, but let's figure out the date. We'll make it happen. And then coming out of that next meeting, we'll have a better agenda prepared. We can speak to, okay, here's kind of the original organization. We talk about what are we going to go get done? And then we'll carry on from there and we'll sort of set go do targets and we'll get some things done.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Any last
Thanks, everyone.
thoughts? All right. Well, thank you all for your participation. I really appreciate it. Means a lot. And again, appreciate everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care,
Have a good
everyone.
night, everyone.